Instagram. Let me do that. I think it's going to take a minute to do that. Oh, you know what? I have a feeling that the key is not working because I took more than 10. Oh, there it is. Okay, let's see if that works. All right. I think we're in business.
Okay, great.
Super, super. I am beyond excited. I'm a fangirl, I have to say. I have been following you for a while and love everything that you do. As a matter of fact, at one point, I think I even asked you for information about some website help, which you gave me your website person's name. So that was a while ago. And anyway, I'm very, very excited, very glad to be here. I want to introduce you to everybody. This is Julia Dunaway. Okay. She goes by Chef Julia. And we are here in my working kitchen, and there's lots of noise going on. My husband is over there making his lunch, and I am, this is just real life. So I'm going to show you why Chef Julia and I are here in the first place. And also just want to mention, if anybody has any questions, please don't be shy. On Instagram, you can actually put, you can go to the question sticker, and you can ask a question, or you can ask a question here on any of the other platforms, but we want you to feel like you're here with us in our kitchens cooking. So this is why we're here. This is one of 150 reasons, actually, why we're here. We are both privileged to be part of a bundle or a collection, if you will, of ebooks that have been assembled and connected together and are offered for this one time as a collection, as a bundle. And there are a little over 150 options or ebooks. There's ebooks, there's courses, there's videos, there's interviews with doctors, there's books, full books. There are so many options for you to choose from that it will make your head swim. But you have the rest of your life to look at them, and you actually can just start. They're in alphabetical order when you download it. So we're going to talk a little bit more about it. But before we get even more into that, let's just dig right into why we're here in the first place, which is because you and I both love whole food, plant-based, no oil, and in my case, gluten-free. I don't know if you are as well.
No, I'm not gluten-free.
Yeah, I have to be because I have celiac. So
okay.
There's that extra little piece. But we're delighted to be here. And I am going to just turn the microphone over to you and ask you to share with us your story and whatever else you can share with us.
Okay. Well, thank you for having me on your show. I appreciate it. And I will have to say you're a fan of mine, but I'm a fan of yours. And I actually printed out your ebook, which this is the only one I printed out, by the way, because I don't, it's a lot of work to print out ebooks. Because I made your pecan pie oatmeal as one of my live streams on Monday. So if you want to see me make your pecan pie oatmeal, look at my Facebook page. And I made it, and it was so good. And I was so, happy about how good it was. I said, I like this. I like this. So I printed it out because I eat oatmeal every day. So I like your stuff. And I think you did a great job on your ebook. And I like the fact that it's very simple, because it has one type of food in it. It's easy to understand. There's a lot of variety. It's well written, and it's not too long. So, my contribution, Plant-Based Japanese Chew, is kind of like that. It's not super long. It's, 60 pages or something, but you can print it out. It's short enough that it's easy to print out. So I like that about ebooks. I don't like 200-page ebooks because if I did want to print them out, then there's no way. And going back and forth and looking at recipes. I don't have an iPad, so that means I'd have to go to my computer. I'd have to print the page I'm using and take it to the kitchen, so I kind of like easy. But about myself, we can get back to all of our content in a minute. But I had a career in the military for 30 years. I have a master's degree in social work. So I was a clinical social worker starting out, and then a social work administrator. And I worked for 21 years. The last 21 years of my career, I was on active duty for 30 years. The last 21 years working for the Federal Bureau of Prisons as a social work administrator. Wow. And I was in charge of social work for the whole nation in the prison system. So it was a really different thing than what I do now. And then I went to culinary school at night and on the weekends. when I was still on active duty. So this was like 5 or 6 years before I retired. And because I love the hobby of cooking, I would watch all the Food Network shows and cook for my family. And I just always loved cooking. So I thought, well, when I retire, I don't want to counsel people anymore or begin private practice anymore. I want to do something relaxing, fun, and different. So I got my culinary school diploma in 2009 and opened up my Chef Julia business on the side. I have a kitchen classroom here in my house. That's what we're in right now, where I have it set up for retreats and different, classes that I used to do and filming videos and whatnot. And so that's what I've been doing, but it wasn't plant-based at first. So up until 2017, my food was more, just traditional food. And my culinary school that I attended was classic French. So at the beginning of every class, we had to clarify a couple of pounds of butter. That's the kind of food we made. Everything started with clarified butter. So you can imagine the calories. So in 2017, as I got older, I was getting higher cholesterol, higher blood pressure, gaining weight, couldn't take the weight off, really frustrated. And I had read about the Blue Zones from Dan Buettner years before when the book came out, and the Okinawa program and Dean Ornish. And I knew, because I always studied stuff, being a clinical social worker. I studied lots of stuff, and I always studied, the best diets and whatever was out there, and tried every diet you could think of. If you want to know my 1 hour long diet history, which is so long, it's on YouTube. I actually did a YouTube video called My Diet Story, and because I was always on a diet. And but anyway, in 2017, I decided I would follow the Blue Zones diet. And really, it's not really a diet. It's a way of eating where it's 90% plant-based, maybe 10% other stuff, animal products, or 5% ideally. And I did that, and nothing really changed. And then in 2017 and 18, our city of Fort Worth, Texas, was trying to become certified as a Blue Zone.
Oh, wow.
And in order to be a Blue Zone, they had to have the whole city exposed to what was a Blue Zone. So they had chefs like me. We would go, and we got paid to do it. We would go around to schools, businesses, churches, civic groups, organizations, and conduct cooking demonstrations, making something plant-based. So I did that in 2017 and 18. And decided to switch all my classes to plant-based in 2018. Well, everybody quit signing up to come, basically, because in Texas, Texas is not exactly known for, plant-based eating. And, the people that have been coming to my classes were pretty much, your typical meat and potatoes kind of people. They weren't interested in beans and rice. So that kind of started to dry up, but then I kept doing it. And in 2019, things started really picking up. I was posting online all the time. I had my chef page. I had a support group called Chef Julia Support Group on Facebook. I was making YouTube videos, and I was really getting into starting to become well known. And then COVID hit. So, I had to cancel all my classes for the year. And at that time, I had people that were coming for individual retreats. Like they would come with 1 or 2 people, and I would spend 4 hours with them and teach them a lot of stuff about plant-based cooking. And I had lots of people that were lined up to come. Well, that all got canceled. So when COVID started, after a couple weeks, I decided to go online every day and do a live cooking demo on Facebook Live. And so I did that for 50 days in a row.
Wow.
And during the time, and it was funny because I had no experience doing live videos of any type. And what inspired me was one of these Food Network chefs, Michael Simon. One day I was looking at YouTube, and Michael Simon, who's a well-known Food Network chef, he was filming a video, and he was literally wearing his bedroom slippers and sweatpants, and his wife was holding a phone, and he was cooking dinner, and it was not very good quality. And I thought, if that guy can go on Facebook in his bedroom slippers with his wife filming him with an iPhone, I'm going to do that. So I had some kind of inexpensive tripod, and I rigged it up where it was up high enough where you could see what I was doing, and angled it down. And the early ones are awful. There's some of them are still on Facebook, I think. And so every day I'm like, okay, today I'm going to make tofu. Today I'm going to make beans. And all of a sudden, because everybody was stuck at home,
Yeah.
I got all these new followers. They were just like coming on because they had nothing to do. So they're like, hey, somebody to watch, plant-based, no oil. And so I gained a huge following in 2020 from doing those live cooking demos. And then when COVID was over, I started doing Zoom classes, and I've done about 55 Zoom classes, and they're all on my website. So every class I've ever done, and they're like 2.5-hour classes with a detailed recipe packet, they're all on my website and can be purchased for $20. So they're very cheap, but you get a lot for the money.
That's right. That's how I found you, actually.
Oh, okay, great.
Now I saw all your classes and was just enamored with your you're charming and you're very homey, and you make people feel, even though they're not right there, you make people feel like they're right in the kitchen with you.
Thank you. I've enjoyed it. I've kind of cut back on classes now because I'm doing retreats where I have like an 8-hour intensive retreat where people come from 9 to 5. And I spend all day with them, and we cook together. We cook our lunch. I have guest speakers come in, and I've done about 7 retreats, and they all sold out. I have one coming up in June. I think there's one more spot. Mm-hmm. And then I don't have any scheduled after that because I'm going to be doing some traveling, and they're working on doing some street repairs where I live out in the country, and I don't know how the street is going to be. So I'm a little reluctant to have a bunch of people come.
Julia,
but people were coming from all over.
For the one spot that you have left for the June class, how would people find out about it?
If you go to my website, chef-julia.com, there's a drop-down menu, and under it, retreats are listed. And if it was not working the other day, and people let me know, they emailed me, and then I could sell the class to you, the retreat to you in another way, not on my website. If you have a problem with the website, they were fixing the part where people were trying to buy. I had like 4 people trying to buy retreat spots, and they couldn't get it to work, but they bought them through me anyway. So there are other ways.
So it's www.chef-julia.com.
Yeah, or HTTPS :
Right.
Yeah.
So I just put the whole thing in the comments. So
okay, great. Thank you so much. And I have a shop section where every class I've ever done is on there, and I have I think I have 9 ebooks, including this one is not on there, but my plant-based Japanese one from last year is on there, along with everything else I've ever made. So there's a bunch of ebooks, and I just keep trying to improve my cooking. And I have been, and the other big thing, and I'll stop after this, is in May of 2020 during COVID, I was at about 170 pounds, and I'm 5'7", and I had just this real extra weight around the middle, and I was not feeling very good about it. And my cholesterol was creeping up. My blood pressure was not going anywhere. And I thought, I'm just eating too many rich plant foods. I'm still eating plant-based, no oil, but if you add enough avocados and almond butter and bread and even things that are compliant, you can still never lose weight eating this way. And that's kind of what I was doing,
right.
Being a chef, making lots of food. So I decided to pick a plan and just follow it for a period of time and lose the weight and really stick with more of a lower calorie density version of the plant-based way of eating. So I followed Dr. Greger's Daily Dozen from How Not to Die. And I just said, this is easy. It makes sense. I read the book, The Daily Dozen: beans, grains, berries, vegetables, fruit, a little bit of nuts, but not many, lots of water, walk every day or do some exercise. So in May of 2020, I started walking every day, eating nothing but The Daily Dozen, like really sticking to it 100%. Was my intention. Sometimes I would veer off a little bit, but not much. And within 3 weeks, my blood pressure or my cholesterol dropped from 211 to 170, and my blood pressure was lower, and I started losing weight. And it took me about about 5 or 6 months, I went from 170 to 140.
That's
And
amazing. That is so amazing.
but the best part is, okay, here it is, 4 years later almost, and I'm still at my 140 pounds. I haven't regained the weight because I haven't stopped doing that exact same thing, which is sticking with the daily dozen.
Yeah.
And so that's what I do on my support group. And this year I turned 70. So I am really trying to live my life to the fullest and do things that I've never done before. I'm walking the Camino de Santiago in Portugal and Spain with some friends. I'm traveling a lot more, going to Japan, just trying to really live my life. And since I'm healthy, I can do anything because I'm in great health.
Yeah, I love that. And I think I've seen that you do weightlifting too several times.
Yeah. My arms, for being in the age group where a lot of women my age don't ever wear anything where their arms and shoulders show, but I can wear anything. And
do you work with a trainer?
Yes, I go to the gym 2 times a week, an hour at a time, and do like heavy weightlifting, chest presses, bicep curls, back exercises, lateral, side lateral, just the whole slew of true. He's a guy weightlifter, and he makes me do a lot of really hard stuff. And I've been working out with him for years.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, that is the best thing you can do as you get older, because having strong bones and strong whatever muscles, I never get aches and pains.
Yeah.
So my back doesn't hurt, my legs don't hurt, my shoulders don't hurt, because everything is really strong. So it's good for pain management to have strong muscles.
Yeah, I go to the gym and I take classes that are a combination of strength training and cardio and core work, sort of a mix. And I do that usually 4 to 5 times a week. And I try to walk also. Life has thrown a curveball at me just because of some illness in my family. So I'm back and forth. But I do try to walk 3 miles as often as I can. And I listen to podcasts. I listen to music. I love listening to podcasts because I find them very inspiring.
Yeah. I do that too when I can. My walking group I started out walking, and then a friend of mine was walking in the park one day, and I said, I walk here every day. And so she joined me. Well, 3 years later, I have a group of 3 women who join me every morning, and we walk 3 miles, and then they leave and I walk 2 more.
That's amazing.
It's
amazing.
Like
you must go through a lot of sneakers.
Not really. I guess I'm not too hard on them. I wear Hokas. They last me, well, maybe to me it's not that many. They last me for about 6 months, and then I have to get a new pair.
Yeah. Well, that's fun. You know what? It's an investment in your health. Right?
Yeah. And it's fun. It's like in the Blue Zones, they call one of the secrets to longevity in the people that live to be 100 and were healthy is that they had a really strong social group, and they called them Moai. And it was like a group of friends that got together daily, and they knew all of one another's issues, good or bad, their strengths, weaknesses, problems, grief, whatever. They went through it together. And they said that was a real key to living healthy into your old age. And so I've got this little built-in Moai, plus a bunch of other friends too. Yeah. And I think that, I value that a lot, that there's a lot of wealth to having friends.
You're reminding me about the series that came out a few months ago. I don't know how long ago.
Yeah, the Netflix had the Blue Zones series.
It's so good. I'm going to go back and watch it again. And it was very impactful to read all of the story, to watch all of the stories. So, and also what you said before really resonated with me about all the diets. I have to confess that I have been a little reluctant, almost a little embarrassed to talk about that piece of it for me, because I didn't have that much to lose. But regardless of what amount of weight one has to lose, the world that we live in has been so inundated with this brainwashing of you have to eat less, you have to be skinny, and it just really has left its mark on me. So
Mhm.
I just have always been concerned about my weight.
Mhm.
And when I met my husband, I was so happy that I started eating what he was eating, and I started having a cocktail every night. I would go, oh, 6 o'clock, it's
Mhm.
time for a cocktail. And I ended up gaining almost 20 pounds. And that was devastating. So I started dieting, and I went on Weight Watchers a number of times. I did Bright Line Eating. I did Whole30, you name it, I did it. I owned the books. I bought into the
Mhm.
programs. And for people who follow those and are successful, I all the more power to you. For me, it didn't work because
Mhm.
I would lose weight, gain weight. It was just like a yo-yo, and I just was
Yeah.
not. I was hungry all the time. So when I
Mhm.
ever discovered right before COVID, it was like in 2018, 19, when I discovered um, Chef AJ and Nutmeg Notebook and other people like that, and then started following a lot of people, including yourself. That was when I made the switch. And all of a sudden, it wasn't about being on a diet to lose weight. That wasn't my primary goal. It was about finding a sustainable way to live that was going to literally sustain me and so that I wouldn't be hungry all the time.
Mhm.
And that what ended up happening was the weight literally melted off of me.
Yeah.
I lost the first like 10 pounds ish on those other diets, but I was not a happy camper.
Yeah.
And when I started whole food plant-based, it took about 18 months.
Mhm.
I wasn't paying too much attention. I was weighing myself, but I still followed whole food plant-based, and the weight literally melted off. But it
That's
melted off without me being hungry.
Yeah, yeah, that's the key. I never feel hungry because I eat a huge amount of food in the
Yep.
morning, and I have to think about, like, by 2 in the afternoon I start getting a little bit hungry, but not even that hungry.
Right. Right.
And I used to always feel, I think something about refined carbs and sugar and animal food. Like when I grew up eating bacon and eggs and toast or whatever, breakfast sandwiches. A really calorie dense food, but within a couple of hours, my stomach would be rumbling like I wanted to eat more.
Yep. Me
And
too.
it was really strange because it seemed like that was a
Me
lot of
too.
calories.
Yep.
But
Me
now,
too.
I make a smoothie. If you look behind me, I have this whole smoothie station I always keep set up. I have my smoothie with all of the daily dozen things I need to put in it, chia, flax, whatever. And then I have Japanese greens. I make 2 pounds of them at a time, and then I divide that into 4 servings. So I eat
Mhm.
a huge bowl of my Japanese greens every morning. And then after that, I have a bowl of oatmeal.
Mhm.
So, and it may take me an hour to eat all that. I don't eat it all, like scarf it down. I'll take it into my office where I work,
Mhm.
and I'll start smoothie and the greens and a little oatmeal, and I'll eat all 3 things over
Mhm.
the course of an hour.
Mhm.
And then, that's right after I come back from walking 5 miles.
Mhm.
And then by about 2:30, I start getting hungry, and I can't eat much because a lot of times I'm going to go work out. So I can't eat a big meal. So I'll eat some leftover soup from the freezer, or, I made the brand new vegans spicy tortilla soup the other day from the
Mm.
bundle. It was the best soup. I was like, how come I haven't made soup that tasted this good? My husband was raving over it. I said, man, this guy's doing something right.
Is
So
that in the bundle?
yes, yes, it's called Soup, Stews, and Chilies.
Oh, I will look at that. I also I love his stuff too. So
Yeah, that's
let's
good.
also just let's take a moment. I want to do this a few times during our
Okay.
live and just remind everybody that the bundle has
Mhm.
150 plus ebooks in it. This is mine. It's called 20 Delicious Rise and Shine Morning Oatmeal Recipes from Ellen's Healthy Kitchen. And Chef Julia has her. Can you hold your cover up so people can see it? And for some reason on my screen, it's a little bit fuzzy, but it's plant-based Japanese too. And it's
Mhm.
the second one in your collection, right? There's a first,
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
right? So what can people expect? Can you share a little bit about what people can expect from your cookbook? From your
Oh, yes.
ebook?
Sure. Like in Japan, a traditional Japanese meal is rice, soup, and 3 sides. So, of course, I cover how to make miso soup
Mhm.
and make it really healthy with vegetables. I cover how to cook rice, various different ways, on the stove, in a rice cooker, in the Instant Pot. And then I have, fun things in here like rice ramen noodle soup. That's gluten free.
Mm-hmm.
So, I have that. And then I have, fried rice and rice balls where, a lot of people are not familiar with rice balls, but they're really good. You just make brown rice and you put some chickpea tuna in the middle of them and wrap them in a little seaweed. And then an exciting thing in this book is I figured out how to use my mung bean egg mixture.
Oh, cool.
I made it into some Japanese dishes like okonomiyaki, which is a savory Japanese pancake. And you can get it at restaurants where they have a griddle in the middle of the table, and then you put all the batter together and put it on there and grill it and eat it, and it's really good. So I was always trying to figure out how to make it taste like the real thing. Well, I make this really good mung bean egg omelet, and it's in this. I put it in this ebook. And it's the same one I use to make little omelets to put on breakfast sandwiches.
Yeah.
And it's just made from mung beans. They're yellow split mung beans. They soak overnight. I add cashew milk because I like the flavor of that. And then turmeric and some different flavorings and blend it up. It's really smooth. And then you just put it in a skillet. It makes these little omelets. Well, with the okonomiyaki savory pancake, the mung bean batter goes in with cabbage, onions, carrots, some cubes of tofu if you like, and then you put that on a good nonstick pan and make a great big savory pancake. And you can make it gluten-free too. You could use a gluten-free flour, like an all-purpose gluten-free flour, brown rice flour, any kind of flour. And then you put some sauce on it. There's a recipe for the sauce and some cashew mayo and pickled ginger. And I have a recipe for pickled ginger. And it's just like an explosion of flavor in your mouth because they're the ginger, the sauces, the creamy, the crunchy vegetables, and now the batter, which is like the savory pancake batter. So I was really proud of that dish because it took me years to figure out how to create something that tasted like the real thing. And this one really does. So there's a lot of stuff in there that I take things that they love from Japanese restaurants, but they can never get plant-based, no oil.
Yeah, actually, I have speak about an explosion of flavors. I have an explosion of questions.
Okay.
So one question I have is when anyone goes to a Japanese restaurant, can you assume that the sushi rice doesn't have oil in it, or do you have to ask?
Well, here's the thing. The sushi rice should not have oil in it because it's supposed to be rice, vinegar, sugar, and salt. That's the formula, is they boil vinegar, sugar, and salt. So it will have sugar and salt, and they add that to rice. However, I've attended some sushi workshops where the chef puts oil on his gloves. Like he oils up his gloves to handle the sushi. And I haven't seen that everywhere, but that could be there. But they're not going to tell you there's oil in the sushi because they don't count that. So it just depends on where you go. That's not supposed to be a common practice, but you can pretty much assume there's no oil in your sushi rice. And if there was, from that, it would be very, very minuscule amount.
Yeah. I have to say that with going whole food plant-based, I have found that the most reliable and easiest way to stick to my decision to stay on this way of life is Asian restaurants, and particularly Japanese is my first one. Because I can always get sushi, I can always get edamame, I can always get miso soup. So it's just super easy to do that. And by the way, I just want to mention to you that it's a little bit better now. Your picture's a little bit fuzzy, and I actually have been live chatting with the support to find out.
Okay. It looks clearer on the screen I'm looking at. It looks real clear.
Yeah. And it does actually it does here too. So maybe I'm curious if you got closer, or can you even get closer or not?
I'm about as close as I can get. I can get real closer. But it's weird because on the screen I'm looking at, it looks really clear.
He said to close fully out of any extra tabs that you don't need, just in case you have any open.
Oh, okay. Well, that's a lot.
Yeah, me too. I mean, I have a lot open too, but I don't think my picture is okay.
Oh, I closed out of this one too then.
No, I still hear you.
Okay. Oh, we lost the picture.
Ah, you lost the picture. Well, if you want, you can.
Can you still see me?
I can
Oh, here
still
we
see.
go. Yeah. Okay. I closed everything. Oh, here, let me close another couple things. Okay, that's everything is closed, and I've got it on the best Wi-Fi, the
Okay, and he
strongest
said,
Wi-Fi, because I'm in another room in the house.
yeah, he said you can if you're on if any other devices are on Wi-Fi that to take them off.
Okay, how's that? My laptop was unplugged,
Yeah.
so I don't know if that had any
No.
bearing on it. I
Well,
tripped on the cord.
yeah. No.
So be
We'll keep
aware
going.
when
Hmm?
you eat in a Japanese restaurant.
Mhm.
One thing is miso soup has fish in it.
Oh,
So if
always? It always does? Maybe not. When I
yes,
order miso soup, it's the soup with some tofu and some scallions.
yes, but unless it specifies that it's vegan miso soup,
Ah.
the way miso soup is made with dashi broth,
Hmm.
and dashi broth is made from shaved fish that is like it looks like pencil shavings, and they take the dashi fish shavings and they cook it in water, and then they add that they strain all the fish shavings out, and then that becomes dashi, and then they add that dashi stock to the pot, and then add the miso paste and the seaweed and the tofu, and so that provides a really strong umami flavor. That's why miso soup tastes so good. It's got a really strong thing from the katsuobushi. It's called. It's a kind of
Wow.
fish. So the way around it, like if you look at my recipe for miso soup in my ebook here, it has konbu dashi, which that's the replacement for
The
the
fish.
fish dashi, and it's made from seaweed.
Now, okay, the one place where we go a lot, theirs has the kombu in it too. But I think this is great. From now on, when I order miso, I'm not going to make any assumptions. I'm going to make sure that it's not made that it's vegan.
Okay, and it probably doesn't have kombu in it. It probably has wakame in it because
Hmm. Hmm.
konbu is not served as a food.
Hmm.
Konbu is used, it's real hard little squares of seaweed that you steep it in
Yeah.
broth or something, and you can't really eat it. It's not that much of an edible food. But when you get miso soup and there's seaweed in it, that's called wakame seaweed. It's real thin. Is that what you're seeing in there? Yeah, that's wakame. Can you see me better now?
No, I mean, actually, the person on Instagram said they can see you fine.
Oh, okay.
So
Huh. Well,
it could be. I'm not sure what it is. I mean, I can see you well enough that I know you're there. Very, very much so. And Rachel just left us. Rachel Detroit just left us from Rachel Detroit Coaching just left us. She says, "Looking great, ladies," and she said hi to you and hi to me. And she also said your hair looks very nice to you.
Oh, to me?
Yeah.
Oh, well, I just got back from having my hair done. She knew that because I was watching her live stream while I was at the hair place, sitting there waiting for her to come
That's
and
very
mess
funny.
with my hair.
So,
But yeah, the Japanese restaurant, you're right. Edamame is good unless it's stir fried, because sometimes they fry it, and then you can always get a sushi roll with avocado, cucumber. Sometimes they'll put carrots and other vegetables in it.
Right.
And
I
then,
actually, I know this restaurant pretty well now because I
Mhm.
go there so often, and they make a special sushi roll for me
Mhm.
out of dry roasted peanuts and avocado.
Oh, nice.
It's delicious. It's like my signature sushi.
Well, next time you go, ask them if they will make you some miso soup without dashi.
Without dashi.
Yeah, and if they won't, what you can do, I'm thumbing through my book because one thing that I've done, and I have a recipe in here for miso soup balls. And the miso soup balls, I keep them in the freezer all the time.
Wow.
And you can just, pop one out and take it with you.
Right.
And just ask them to use your miso soup ball and make you a bowl of miso soup. Or, that's one thing you can do. I use it more like if I'm wanting to eat a Japanese meal at night and I'm busy and I have a lot of stuff to do, I always have frozen Japanese rice or brown rice
Hmm.
in the freezer. I always have miso soup balls. I always have frozen sesame ginger tofu, which is also in my book. And I can take those three things and throw it on some vegetables, like chopped up green vegetables, and throw in some carrots and tomatoes on top and make like a sesame ginger tofu bowl with a bowl of
Yeah.
miso soup on the side. I can make that meal right now if I wanted to, because I have all that stuff
Right
available.
there. You know, what you're reminding me is, not that I need a reminder because I know how much I love this lifestyle, and
Mhm.
how there is never a dearth. Is that a word? A dearth?
Yeah.
Never a dearth of choices to make. There's always something, and it's so funny. Michael will often say. In fact, we drove up from Boston to Gloucester, where we have our other house, and he said, well, "What are we going to do for dinner?" And I said, I always can figure something out, because there's always a starch, there's always rice, there's always vegetables, either fresh or frozen. You
Hmm.
know, and I almost always have a sauce, and if I don't, I can whip one up in 5 minutes.
Hmm. Yeah.
So it's it's just a wonderful, sustainable, delicious way of eating.
Yeah, it is. And the food to me, my food, I hardly ever want to go out to eat because
Me
my
too.
food tastes better than the restaurant food. And I can't get them to fulfill my needs at most places. So I end up having to I bring my salad dressing with me. I freeze it in little, they look kind of like this. They're little, 2-ounce portion cups. And I keep a whole, Ziploc bag of different salad dressings labeled in my freezer. And
I
then
have
when we're going out, I grab one and take it with me.
I have had some of those, and they leak. Do you have a recommendation? Do you got them on Amazon, or?
Well, the ones I have are like, they come in a box of 3,000 for chefs.
Oh
So,
wow.
but what I do, even though mine are good and they stay together pretty well, I always put them in a Ziploc bag
Just
as
to
an
be sure.
added protection in case the top pops off or
Right.
something.
But I'm fascinated with, you said that you actually make it and freeze it?
Hmm. Yeah, because think about this. Let's say that I love cashew ranch or cashew lemon dressing. And, I'll make a batch of it with a whole cup of cashews and a
Mhm.
bunch of lemon juice and garlic and all this stuff. And, I want to use 1 tablespoon, because what I do is I use like a tablespoon of that rich dressing, but then I supplement it with some vinegar and lemon juice
Mhm.
and try
Mhm.
to make it stretch out so I don't use a lot of the richer dressing. So I'll take my 1 tablespoon of the creamy dressing, put it in a bowl, and then start adding other stuff to it. And
Yeah.
what we'll do is it'll have a hint of creaminess, but it'll have a lot of other stuff in it to stretch
Yes.
it.
I
Well,
want to
because,
get I want to get back to that
yeah.
in 1 second, but
Um,
somebody on Instagram asked, "Is Japanese rice the same as sushi rice?"
No.
No.
There are lots of different types of Japanese rice. So the typical daily Japanese rice is usually like a medium grain rice, like a brand you might see in stores is called nishiki. Or, just in the bulk section, Japanese rice is medium grain usually. But sushi rice is always short grain. And the short grain sushi rice is a little stickier, so it holds together better for sushi.
Mhm.
And it's usually more expensive because it's a higher grade. And so you'll see the thing, it'll say sushi rice. Well, sushi rice can be eaten as regular rice too. You don't have to just use it for
Mhm.
sushi. You can use it for everything, but it's usually a lot more expensive. So for everyday Japanese rice, just get a simple medium grain rice. It'll still be
Okay.
sticky. And for sushi, get sushi rice.
Cool. This is so helpful. I'm learning so much from you. I have a huge. It's called the Hong Kong Supermarket
Hmm.
in Boston, and I go there frequently. That's where I buy my big bags of sushi rice.
Oh, yeah.
But now I'll know that I could have both sushi rice and the nishiki.
Nishiki, Nishiki.
Right. I will do that. So I want to get back to your salad dressing.
Oh, okay, then so like let's say I have this huge bowl of salad dressing now. I've made it. It's my delicious cashew ranch or whatever, garlic or whatever it is. And then I'm only going to use a small amount. Well, it only lasts for about 4 days. Well, there's no way I'm going to use that whole bowl of dressing in four
Right.
days. I'm the only one eating it. My husband doesn't like he uses regular salad dressing. He's not 100% plant-based.
Mm-hmm.
So by taking, and you don't have to use disposable containers. You can use little Tupperware, tiny containers or whatever you have. I'll put that dressing in all these little containers, and then I'll put them in a big Ziploc bag in a section of my freezer. And I'll label the bag usually if I have a lot of them. And I know that that's a delicious dressing and it's frozen. It'll last for months. And then when I'm getting ready to run out the door to meet my friend for lunch, I put one in a Ziploc bag. And when I get to the restaurant, I can order a giant salad, no dressing, no cheese, no meat, but I have a really scrumptious dressing to put on it. And that's something where it's hard to stick to this way of eating for some people because they don't want to eat lemon and vinegar on their salads. They don't,
Sure.
I have a bunch of these balsamic vinegar things that I ordered, for different times. And
oh yeah, California balsamic.
Yeah, to me, this is not enough on my salad to make me want to eat it. I'm a person that always loved any kind of creamy salad dressing, creamy Italian, whatever it was, it had to be creamy. So I've got my creamy dressing and I will doctor it up so it's not so much creamy dressing because obviously I have to keep my weight off and, too many nuts is not good. So I try to keep that to a minimum.
Right.
But you can still have it.
I have sort of a few iterations of that. Mm-hmm. I have a cashew based. I also have a tofu based, but both. And I have a bean based one, but I have that dressing. The cashew is my favorite. And it's too rich. I actually don't like it like super I don't want it to be that creamy. So I do what you do is I doctor it with California balsamic. And sometimes a third thing I do is I'll add lemon juice, fresh lemon juice. It's interesting. The California balsamic with the fresh lemon, sometimes I'll even do just that without the cashew. Maybe I run out of the cashew, but I'm curious, how long does it take to defrost the little containers of the cashew dressing?
Well, if you know you're going to take it with you, then usually by the time you get to wherever you're going, it's defrosted. But what I do a lot of times is I have a hot water dispenser in my kitchen for hot tea. It's like a boiler. Japanese always have this. And so I have instant boiling water all the time. So I'll take a regular size bowl, like a soup bowl, and I'll put that little container in the boiling hot water and it'll defrost it really quickly.
Right. Well, along those same lines, another thing you can do, there might be some people who draw the line and say, no, I'm not going to do that. But I would do it if it were still frozen when I got to the restaurant, I would ask them for the wait staff for a bowl and some hot water. And
you could do that. You so could do that. It doesn't matter. And then, I'll bust it up, at home. Once it defrosts a little bit, I'll put it in another bowl and start adding my lemon juice and balsamic vinegar and thin it out a little bit or whatever. Right. And also that's how I make cashew cream. So I make plain cashew cream sometimes with just a cup of cashews and a half cup of water. And I'll save it in those little portion cups. Remember, I have 3,000 of them. So I'll save it in those little portion cups and label that bag cashew cream. And then whenever I have to make something with cashew cream, a lot of recipes, you just need a little of it. Then I can just get one of those small things and add it to whatever I'm making. I don't need to, have to make a big production out of it. So those come in really handy. And I can turn them into a dressing. I can always take that and add a bunch of herbs and spices and chopped up onions and vinegar and lemon juice and turn it into a really nice creamy dressing very quickly because that part's already made.
Well, as you can tell, I'm a big fan of Asian food, and Japanese is my go-to. The restaurant that we go to is called Bangkok Bento, and it's a combination of Japanese and Thai and a little bit of Vietnamese too.
Nice.
Sort of a melding of them, and they're very accommodating. I think one of the things that I would share with people, I don't want to say caution because I don't want to make it sound scary, but I would share with people that it's important to advocate for yourself. You can't be a hermit, right? You're going to go out with friends, with family for events, occasions, whatever. And I've just learned over the years that if I don't advocate for myself, when I leave that event or that restaurant, I'm going to be pissed at myself. I'm not going to feel good. And the kind of lives that I think most of us lead that are we're social beings. And, we're always going out to a restaurant, to somebody's house, whatever. And I just find that if I don't if I don't keep boundaries on what is important to me, then it's too easy to fall off and not follow what you really want to do, what's in your heart.
That's very true. You have to really be committed to it in all situations. That's why I do the dressing thing. And I bring food. Like sometimes if I'm going to an event and I know that they're not going to take care of me, they have a set menu, and I'm a chef, so I get invited to a lot of stuff that has food. And I'll know in advance. In fact, I got invited to someone's birthday party at a Mexican restaurant, and she is a good friend, and she told me there's not going to be anything for you to eat there. She said it's going to be cheesy enchiladas, cheesy nachos, cheesy whatever. And I said, okay. So I went to the restaurant and I brought with me my own tortilla chips that I made myself in a bag. I knew they were going to have guacamole, which was just avocados. And I ate that, and they had salsa, and I ordered some plain corn tortillas. And the only thing I was able to eat during her party was corn tortillas with salsa and my own chips and guacamole. And I also ate before I went.
Yeah.
Because I didn't want to be hungry, but I was able at least to nibble on stuff while everybody else was eating their gigantic mountain of food that smelled, when everybody's eating giant mountains of food, even if you're plant-based, it still smells like food.
Right.
So,
you have to learn how to, like I said, it's advocating for yourself, which includes not only asking for what you want at the place, the restaurants or the, wherever, but it's also doing what you do, making the dressing, keeping it in the freezer, remembering to, I also make my own peanut sauce that I bring. They make at this restaurant, they make a summer roll, which is just the rice paper that's softened with the veggies and the tofu in it. And when I first ordered it, they did it with the fried tofu. And so that I learned my lesson then. And after that, I said, I don't want the fried tofu. I want plain steamed, not steamed, plain raw tofu with veggies. And then I bring my own peanut sauce every single time. And, I'm not going to have their peanut sauce. Do you have one in there?
Yeah, there is a fresh roll, and it has the addition of a piece of nori seaweed right on top of the rice paper.
Oh, nori seaweed. I want to don't let me forget. I have a nori seaweed question, but I have two questions right here on my phone. I'm also on Instagram here. So I don't know how to say your name, so I'm not going to butcher it. But how long can you keep sauces in the freezer?
Well, anything after a couple of months starts to lose its freshness. So I would say no more than 2 to 3 months.
Yeah.
Don't make so many that you can't use them up within, I'd say, a couple of weeks or 3 or 4 weeks, really.
Can you the cheese sauce that we all make, various,
it does not freeze. Nope.
Can you refreeze those?
No. I have tried various ways. If you use one that's cashews only and no potatoes and carrots, you could freeze that one. But if you add potatoes and carrots to it, when you try to reheat it, it curdles.
Oh, okay. Well, we're not going to go there.
Cashews only, it's okay. But most of us have started putting beans and potatoes and carrots and bell peppers and stuff in our cheese sauce to make it less calorie dense. So,
I generally go through, I'll make a quart-sized jar of it, and I generally go through the whole thing. So, in the course of a week, 10 days, and it stays fine. Okay, so I hope we answered that question. It sounds like 2-ish months after that, it starts to lose its freshness. And then the next question, is there a source for the recipe for the dressing? And I think you said it's in the cashew dressing. Is it in one of your books?
That one you can find just on Facebook. If you become a member of my Facebook support group, at the top in the featured posts, I have a post about my favorite salad dressings, and I have cashew lemon, tahini dressing, and I can't remember one other one. I have like 3 dressings, and I give them out all the time to people.
And is that on Facebook?
Yeah, it's a Facebook. It's called Chef Julia Support Group. You have to request to join it.
Chef Julia Support Group. Okay. So there you go. I think I might. No, I don't think I'm in it, but I'm going to be in it
shortly, because I give away lots of recipes there.
Yeah.
No, and Ellen, you brought up a good point, and that I don't think a lot of people realize. when you go out and eat those fresh rolls, or sometimes they call them summer rolls, or sometimes they even call them spring rolls, they always bring you peanut sauce, and people will think, well, it's peanut sauce,
It could be
but
bad.
they add oil to that peanut sauce.
Yeah. Oh,
And
yeah.
so you can't, and that's what you said. I'll make my own and take it because I
Yeah.
know I'm going to go somewhere and they're going to have spring rolls. So I have a bunch of peanut sauce in a bag in my freezer right now that I
Oh,
can
so
take
that
with
you
me.
can freeze.
Yeah, peanut sauce freezes good.
So, I mean, there have been times where we're walking out the door. The restaurant that I'm thinking about is in Boston, and we walk to it. So we're walking out the front door of our apartment, and Michael goes to get the elevator, and I go, "Hold on, I forgot my peanut sauce."
Yeah.
And I will run back. It takes me a minute and a half to make,
Yeah, that's
mix
worth
the
it. Yeah.
Mari or coconut
Mhm.
aminos, maple
Yeah.
syrup, a little peanut butter powder. I don't use
Mhm.
peanut butter; I use the
Yeah.
powder,
Great.
and a little sriracha and a little, I forget, rice vinegar. And I'm,
Mhm.
I'm happy as a clam doing that.
Yeah, that's great. That's a good, and that's how, that's how you stay with this lifestyle. Anybody can do it for a few weeks, and just be really compliant with everything, and just eat their salad naked and do all this stuff. But then there comes a time where you're
Yeah.
extra hungry, or everybody's celebrating. They're eating something that looks really
Right.
decadent or wonderful, and you're sitting
Right.
there going, feeling sorry for yourself, and you cave in and eat something that's saturated with oil,
Right.
like vegetable
Right.
fajitas at the Mexican
Right.
restaurant. And then the next day you're all, oh, I feel terrible.
So here's what I want to say to sort of connect on to what you just said. One of the great things about the bundle, which is the bundle is a collection of 150 plus ebooks, is it's almost like having your own private coach in your pocket because,
Mhm.
or in your purse, because you have your, your phone in your purse. You have your own private coach, and it's really a way to hold you accountable. It's easy to make excuses. I've been there. I've done that. Yeah, all right, just this one time. I've done
Mhm.
that. And that's when I got into trouble. It was when I decided to really commit myself to this.
Mhm.
And it's hard. There are times where we go out, and I know for a fact that friends that we go out with think I'm a lunatic. You know what? Like, if you're going to pay for food, why don't you pay for delicious food? Well, I think I want to pay for food that's going to make me feel good and healthy. And so if
Mhm.
that's steamed vegetables and rice, or steamed vegetables and a baked potato, that's for me, that works. So I just want to go back to the bundle and just say, if you're on the fence about it and you're thinking $49, that's a lot for cookbooks, I'm here to tell you that you're getting $8,000 worth of 8,049 to be exact, worth of materials that are going to support
Mhm.
you and help you in your journey. And I think it's important for all of us, myself included, to have mentors. I have mentors. I mentioned to you, Chef Julia, you have been a mentor for me. I think it's important to find people who are going to support you in your desire to get and stay healthy. So get yourself over to the link. Oh, so the links are, let's be clear about this. If you're watching on a screen that has the ticker tape running across, there are 2 links. Now, of course, you can't click on them, but you could screenshot it if you wanted to and then go to it. But an easier way to do it is to go to either of our bios or our profiles on Instagram. Chef Julia, your Instagram name is what?
Julia Dunaway.
Julia Dunaway on Instagram, or you can go to mine, which is Ellen's Healthy Kitchen. And in the profile, the bio, so if you go sort of the bottom line of it, there's a link. And that link takes you to purchase. And not only that, the other thing that I recommend people, don't be scared. Just because you click on that link doesn't mean you have to buy it. You can click on the link, and that will take you to where you can get information about the 150 ebooks.
Good point.
Then, right? And then you can make your own educated decision about it. And
Mhm.
once you decide to do it, then you purchase it, and you'll be emailed a link, and the link will open up to all the ebooks, and then you can download them to your heart's delight. You can do them one at a time. You can do them one a day. You can do them over the course of a year. You get a whole year, honestly, a whole year before the link won't work anymore. But there's videos, right? There's some of the ebooks, you open them up and it'll have a link to go to videos that are cooking classes, and there's yoga. There's just so many options that are going to help support you on your journey to health. So
Mhm.
I highly recommend that. So before we finish, I would like to ask you if I'm going to put you on the spot a little bit.
Okay.
A little bit. I like to do my chats with my bundle buddies and ask them to give people a call to action. Something simple that people can do after they hang up from this and they sit there and think, wow, those two women really just taught me a lot. What am I going to do now? What's something that you can ask them to do as a call to action?
Well, how I got started and got really healthy was I said, I'm going to pick a plan that I like, whether it's Dr. Greger's Daily Dozen, whether it's Starch Solution, whether it's the McDougall or Furman program, Eat to Live. Just pick some really well-known, well-researched program, Forks Over Knives, whatever you pick, and stick to it. Just pick something and say, okay, I'm going to do it and I'm going to follow some guidelines that are simple and I'm just going to do it and do it long enough for it to really make a difference, 90 days, and then evaluate it. Do it for 90 days and then see how you feel. Because until you've done that, you don't want to treat this like a diet. Treat this like I'm going to live differently and I'm going to do everything I can to, make my life as healthy as possible, where I feel good, feel full, don't feel deprived, and, make a commitment to it. That's always my call of action for everybody that I work with is pick something, stick to it, make a commitment to it.
Yeah. Stick to it like glue. That's great. That's a wonderful call to action. My call to action is to get on the oatmeal train. For me, and I haven't talked much about my story, but I will tell you that oatmeal is what really helped me find a way to create habits. And, after reading Atomic Habits and really understanding the concept of developing and growing and sustaining habits, oatmeal was my habit.
And you have a gift with oatmeal, I think, because I love your recipes and I love your suggestions, like where you say to make it even more filling, you could add some cauliflower to it. And, you have all these, different ways to beef it, or not, I don't want to say beef it up, to plump it up.
To tofu it up.
Yeah. And just make it more substantial.
Yeah.
Eat more of it. Like if you really want to eat, if you're hungry.
You know what? I'm so glad that you said that, because part of my journey has been exactly that. I used to start with a quarter of a cup of oatmeal. Well, I'd be hungry like an hour later. So then I upped it to a half a cup. And there are mornings where I wake up and if I'm really hungry, I'll do 3/4 of a cup. Yeah. And that's fine. It works for me. And then I have found other tricks to the oatmeal, being on the oatmeal train, which is, like you said, I keep frozen riced cauliflower. I've tried doing it myself. I've tried buying the cauliflower and ricing it. It's not necessary. It's so inexpensive. And so I buy a big bag of it and I will take it out when I'm making my oatmeal, let it sit on the counter for a little bit to defrost. And sometimes when the oatmeal's done, I'll just put, a quarter of a cup of the rice. It's still a little frozen, but the heat of the cooked oatmeal will help defrost it. Sometimes I microwave it, but that's one thing. And then another thing I do is if I have any lentils made, I will add lentils, even to the sweet oatmeal, the ones that I put fruit on, because the lentils also give you the shot of protein and it'll help you. So my call to action is get on the oatmeal train. And I challenge everybody that's listening to do oatmeal every day for a week. And then, send me a direct message and let me know how you're doing. I want to be your oatmeal buddy.
Did you know I have an oatmeal recipe in my Japanese ebook?
No, I
actually have a shiitake mushroom steel cut oatmeal, and it has chickpeas in it. I can't find it right now. And I put chickpeas in it. It's savory steel cut oats with shiitake mushrooms and chickpeas and Japanese flavors.
Yum.
So I noticed you had some really good savory oatmeal in here too.
I have an Asian congee. Asian oatmeal congee recipe. And the reason I did that was because I used to go to this Vietnamese restaurant and I was a regular there when I lived in Worcester, Massachusetts. And they knew me by name because I went there so often. And I went there once having just had dental work done. And I told the owner that I couldn't eat anything that I had to really chew. And he did one of these, holding his fingers up and going, wait, and I'm going to go get it. And he went the back, and 10 minutes later brought me a bowl of congee, which I'd never had before. And
Mhm.
so that was what inspired my recipe for the Asian
Yeah.
oatmeal congee.
Mhm. That's good. I like that. You can make congee with your still cut oats too, which kind of resembles the original congees made with rice.
Uh-huh.
So the still cut oatmeal has kind of like the texture of rice.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
try it with that too sometime. But yeah, that I like that you had really good recipes for savory oatmeal and that you added handfuls of greens because I like to do that too. So
Yes.
I think you have a really magical statement there about
Yeah.
eat lots of oatmeal because that will sustain you, fill
Yep.
you up. It's pleasurable. It tastes good. You
Yep.
can make it any different way, and you can freeze it too. Like whenever I make a big batch of still cut oats,
Yes.
I'll put it in individual size portions
And
and
freeze
put
it.
it in the freezer. And I can always eat a double portion if I want to, but I can always grab a bag of still cut oats out of my freezer
Right.
and put it in a bowl and microwave it if nothing
Right.
else, and add my raisins and almond milk and a handful of pecans and have a
Right.
delicious hot breakfast in no time.
Or even a snack.
Yeah.
Or even a snack, right?
Mhm.
I want to just, before we end, I want to go back to one thing you said at the very beginning, which was that you do Asian greens. And I wondered, where do you find, like, if I wanted to find Asian greens, would I go to an Asian supermarket?
No, my Japanese greens are just your regular old American grocery store giant box, like a pound box of super greens or power greens, whatever. It's kale, chard, and spinach.
Uh-huh.
And they usually come in these great big tubs. After
Yes.
COVID, they quit selling them in the bulk. Like you used to be able to get them and put them in your own bags. But
Yeah.
after COVID, most stores don't do that anymore. You'd have to go to a farmer's market.
Hmm.
But in the grocery store, they come in pound boxes.
Hmm.
And I just take a big pot of boiling water, put the pound of those greens in it, stir it around for 30 seconds. I take it out with like a spider tool, which is like a big colander tool,
Hmm.
or you can just dump it into a colander, and then immediately put the greens in ice water so they stop cooking. And then I squeeze all the water out of them really hard, squeeze them really good, and then chop them up a little bit and add a little bit of tahini and low sodium soy sauce and ume plum vinegar. I have a YouTube video of me making this, so you can look up my YouTube channel and find
I
Japanese
will.
in there.
I will
And
look
it's
that
also
up.
in my ebook. So the Japanese greens recipe is in here.
Okay, so everybody, you just got to order the bundle.
Yeah.
All there is to it. So,
Mhm.
well, I feel I feel like we could talk forever and ever and ever.
Yeah.
And I really I thank you for the privilege of your time, of sharing all your tips and techniques and tricks and recipes. And I'm looking forward to really digging into your ebook and also into your Facebook channel and your YouTube channel and your Instagram. I want to get to know you even better. So
Well, thank you so much. And
thank
I keep
you.
writing ebooks because I think you're,
Yes.
come for the next bundle. Do you have anything
Yeah.
in mind for next year? Because
I
I
do.
like the
I
recipes.
do. I'm thinking about doing a sauce ebook.
Okay, great. Yeah.
I like
Well,
your idea. I was wondering if it was boring to have just one, like just oatmeal, but I like your idea of it being simple and sauces, just different sauces. Just pick one topic and make different
mhm.
sauces. So I like that
Yeah,
idea.
I would think it's better to write a couple of different ebooks with single topics than to write a 100-page ebook that goes all over the place.
Right.
Because,
Exactly.
like I said, I like to just print them out. If I really like them, you will find them. I'll have them printed out, or I'll go back and look at them again and again.
Yeah.
And if they're too big, I don't want to scroll through all the stuff to go back and find something, and I won't remember what's in it. That's the
Right.
other thing. So
Right.
simple is good.
Right. And, for people who really like to have the printed versions, I went to the UPS that is near us in Boston has a printing section, and I could print my ebook with all the color pages for $18. But I
Mhm.
bet, I didn't ask them this, but I bet I could have printed it all in black and white if I wanted
Oh,
it
yeah.
would have been $5
Hmm.
to do that. So if there are any ebooks that you think, oh, I really just want to have a hard copy,
You can print them, yeah. Or I just do it at home, and I have a good printer with a lot of cartridges that last a long time.
yeah.
So it doesn't take much to
Yeah.
do it at home.
Well,
Yeah,
so
it was nice talking to you, Ellen. I'm
too.
glad I got to know you a little bit.
You too, absolutely. I'm really delighted, and I'll see you around on the gram and
Yeah,
elsewhere as well.
good luck with the rest of Bundle Week,
All right,
and
you too.
I hope
Too.
you do well and take care.
All right, thank you so much,
Bye.
Julia. Bye bye.